I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe is on assignment, and let's start with the good news. It is Friday. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. We're going to begin our show this morning with the ongoing firestorm surrounding the Trump administration's handling of files tied to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. So Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says he is planning to meet with Epstein's convicted former accomplice. That's Ghislaine Maxwell, who you're seeing on your screen. That's going to be for a second day again today as the administration tries to tamp down the mounting controversy. Blanche met with Maxwell and her attorney yesterday at a Florida courthouse. It's a meeting that Democrats have blasted as suspicious. Well, speaking afterwards, Maxwell's lawyer said his client cooperated fully with Blanche.
Ms. Maxwell answered every single question. She never stopped. She never invoked a privilege. She never declined to answer. She answered all the questions truthfully, honestly, and to the best of her ability.
Let's get right to NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba on this. Monica, good morning. So first, just explain about these meetings between Blanche and Maxwell, what the Justice Department is trying to get out of these conversations.
Well, Savannah, this meeting really came together very quickly. It was just a couple of days ago on social media that the Deputy Attorney General said he was seeking this meeting on behalf of the Attorney General who directed him to do so. And he did spend most of yesterday with Ghislaine Maxwell, saying that she answered every single question. She didn't decline any kind of question. But our major question, Savannah, is what kind of information they could be discussing here and what, if anything, could be new? Because remember, she was investigated, indicted, then convicted. There was a trial. So all of this kind of information that perhaps the government would want to know, they had an opportunity to try to ask, but they were not convinced that she would be forthcoming or that she would tell the truth because they believed that she would lie under oath if they needed her to give that kind of information. So it's really unclear, again, what kind of material, what that could lead to, but this had been under pressure that the Trump administration was facing to try to quell some of this unrest in the MAGA base that was clamoring for more information. But as you noted, they are going to continue that conversation today. So they are saying that after this wraps up, this meeting with Maxwell, they could potentially share more. But remember, so much of this might be sensitive because it relates to the victims of what Ghislaine Maxwell was ultimately convicted of, and her co-conspirator, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide, waiting on trial to face similar sex trafficking charges, which is underage girls who were the victims of this sex trafficking scheme. So there's a lot of sensitivity around that as well, Savannah.
What are Democrats saying about this?
Well, they're concerned that this was a private meeting behind closed doors, and they say that if it's the president's own Department of Justice, the Democrats argue they can't trust whatever they say that may have come out of this. So that is why they are trying to seek their own way to depose Ghislaine Maxwell and see if they can be a part of the congressional process to also ask her some questions. So it's possible that that could happen. They're pushing for that, and we could see that in a couple of weeks, potentially, Savannah.
Monica, recess is going to start soon. Where do we think this goes from here?
Yeah, and I think that is a real key question here in terms of this story that the White House did not want to be talking about in the last couple of weeks. They want to be pointing to other things. But it's the own White House and Department of Justice that the president is overseeing that is talking about these future steps. And just last night, the president posted online that he did believe that there could be even some grand jury testimony or transcripts that could be released that is also making its way through a legal process. And it's possible that some of that maybe could come out, though. Just a couple of days ago, a judge indicated that he couldn't release more information because it wasn't in the public interest, and the judge said that the court's hands are tied, but the president is still putting that out there, so of course the headlines aren't going to go away.
Monica, just quick, I do want to switch gears here, and we'll circle back to this in a moment, but I want to ask about the president's visit to the Federal Reserve. So Mr. Trump met with Chairman Jerome Powell. He has criticized him publicly. He has been sort of talk of replacing him, though he said he won't do that imminently. That tension, though, it was on full display in front of reporters yesterday. Tell us about this.
Yeah, this was a pretty remarkable scene that we're going to let you see for yourselves. But this is just to bring the context into this. The president has been extremely critical of the Fed chair, but he appeared alongside him. And the reason he was there is because he wanted to go inspect this renovation project that they're doing at the headquarters, because he's been critical of the price tag as what they call the constructor-in-chief role that he likes to play in observing these kinds of projects. Take a listen to how this exchange went.
So we're taking a look, and it looks like it's about $3.1 billion. It went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody. You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building. Is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
So a real-time fact check there in hard hats and all, Savannah. Of course, this has been a really important aspect for the president, where he is continuing to apply pressure. He even there said he wanted to ask the chair to lower those interest rates, which is something he talks about all the time. But it's another whole thing to see him do it in person, standing next to him.
And Monica, remind us the latest of where we're at with the back and forth on if Mr. Trump is considering trying to oust him from this job.
He will be out of his term in a couple of months, Jerome Powell, and so the president had been threatening to fire him, and there were conversations about whether he might do that. But now it seems he has relented on the actual firing, saying he will be out of his post because that term will end anyway, and then he will install somebody that he believes might be more favorable to what he wants to do. But he still continues to criticize him and likely won't stop until he is out of office.
All right, Monica Alba, thank you very much for starting us off this hour. Well, regulators in the Trump administration approved Skydance Media's $8 billion bid to acquire Paramount. That is the parent company of CBS News. The Federal Communications Commission said it approved the acquisition yesterday, paving the way for major changes at CBS News. FCC Chairman Brendan Carr said in a news release that the move would bring a, quote, commitment to unbiased journalism. Paramount's new owner has made several concessions to the FCC in recent days, including an agreement to not implement any DEI programs at the company. This also comes after Paramount Global settled a $16 million lawsuit with President Trump over a 60 Minutes interview with former Vice President Kamala Harris. He says that the way CBS edited the interview was election and voter interference. Critics of the settlement said it was amounted basically to a bribe to get the Skydance deal done. Well, this morning we are learning chilling new details about the murders of 4 college students in Idaho. Now that gag order in the case against Brian Kohberger has been lifted since it's not going to trial, the lead prosecutor is speaking publicly about the investigation. NBC News correspondent Liz Kreutz has the story.
With Brian Kohberger now locked behind bars for life, lead prosecutor Bill Thompson finally able to share details on the case.
You say that there's no sense of a motive still. But do you have any working theories that you can share?
There are lots of theories out there, none that I can share because they're just speculative.
Thompson speaking after that emotional hearing where Kohberger was sentenced for the murders of Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, and Madison Mogen.
Maddie was my only child that I ever had.
Police also releasing hundreds of documents, one revealing that Kaylee Gonzalez told her roommates she thought a man was following her and around the same time saw a man staring at her while walking her dog.
I think that the roommates and Kaylee's sense that something was amiss probably was accurate.
Could that have been Brian Kohberger?
Sure, certainly could have been Brian Kohberger.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
Another chilling revelation, a tip from a woman who says she matched with Kohberger on Tinder just before the murders. She says he asked her what would be the worst way to die. She responded, a knife, to which she said, like a K-bar, the exact weapon believed used in the killings. And as for that plea deal that took the death penalty off the table for Kohberger.
What do you say to those families who feel like that was doing a deal with the devil?
We made a proposal on our terms, not his.
I think there's still those who feel like it's what he wanted was life in prison versus the death penalty.
I don't know what was going through his head or what he wanted. One way or another, he's going to be in prison until he dies.
Liz Kreutz, NBC News, Boise.
Let's get you some weather. Now, today is expected to be the hottest day of the year for much of the East Coast, with temperatures climbing into the triple digits in several cities. Also, though, more flooding in southern New Mexico yesterday. Fast-moving waters washed away a home. This happened right in that same spot where 3 people died from flooding earlier this month. Back here in the Northeast, though, it is going to be hot, hot, hot. We have NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Goss keeping an eye on all of it. She joins us from the beach where it looks like it's already a warm morning. Steph, good morning. How hot is it expected to get here on the East Coast?
Very hot. You know, a good indication of it, it's early right now, right? And there are plenty of people who are already on this beach and who have already gone in the water. There are days that are uncomfortably hot in the summer, and then there are days like this one where it's actually dangerously hot in places, and it's cities across the country, including here in Long Island. Even though that sea breeze is kind of nice, Savannah, it's going to last really just today, which is good news for people in this part of the country. In other parts of the country, however, like Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte as well, those are places that are hot and steamy in the summer, but they rarely hit 100, and they are actually gearing up to be in the hundreds for multiple days in a row.
Steph, let's also talk about the flooding in parts of the country. I know it's not where we are here on the East Coast, but it has been so bad for some of these places, and unfortunately, relentlessly so. The same places continuing to be hit. What do people need to know?
Yeah, I mean, it has been terrible. And obviously, we've been talking about Texas, but also what's happened right now in Ruidoso, New Mexico, is really shocking. And it's the second time that town has been flooded with raging waters in a month. The first time, it was a deadly flood, and these no less serious. What's happening is that in areas where there are burn scars from fires, this monsoonal rain is dumping on them, and then it's quickly turning into a raging flood, and people having to be rescued from their cars. That incredible video of the house basically smashing into trees. I mean, it's the kind of images that we are seeing over and over and over again this summer. Incredibly alarming. I mean, these are places that are used to getting really heavy rains, monsoonal rains this time of year. But this has been more intense than it has been for a long time, Savannah.
Oh, it really has, and in so many different pockets of the country. All right, Steph, I hope you've got a hat, sunglasses, something. I'm sure you're going to be out there on TV 100 times for us today from the 90-degree heat. Yeah. Appreciate it. Well, now Let's get even more on those suffocating temperatures that have been impacting millions of Americans all week long. Michelle Grossman's here. Hey, Michelle.
Hey there, Savannah. Yeah, all week long, and we're continuing it today in some spots actually into the weekend. So this is what it looks like right now. 98 million people at risk for this severe heat. We're looking at heat advisories. That's where you see the orange. So places like Dallas, Little Rock, Nashville, Cincinnati. We have an extreme heat warning in that hot pink color. That includes Philadelphia, St. Louis, and we're going to see those temperatures soaring once again into the upper 90s, into the triple digits. You factor in that humidity, it will feel like 115 in spots. That's very dangerous. But here is a dividing line. We have this cold front that's kind of dividing the temperature. So back behind it, this is the relief that's on the way. Back behind, we're looking at temperatures into the 70s in Milwaukee. Ahead of it, this is where we're sweltering. The problem, too, is this is entering that really humid air, that warm air. So we're seeing showers and storms along this front, and we're going to see severe weather as we go throughout the later part of today. So look at these numbers once again. Dallas, 99 degrees. Might as well be 100, but it's going to feel like 105 once you factor in that humidity. Same story in Memphis. Will feel like 101 in Macon. It's going to feel like 108 in D.C. So that is today. And then as we head further to the north, that heat expands into the New England areas. We're looking at some record highs likely to fall across the area today. Philadelphia feeling like 107. It's going to feel like 107 in Baltimore, feeling like 105 in Richmond, and it will feel like 99 degrees in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So that is today. Then tomorrow, this is where we're going to really hold on to the heat. So we're looking at temperatures into the 90s once again. Again, the humidity will be in place. So St. Louis feeling like 111 tomorrow. It's going to feel like 100 degrees in Cincinnati. 109 will be the heat index in Charlotte. So it's so important to hydrate. Find those cooling centers, go to the movies, go to the mall if you have to, if you don't have air conditioning, and stay in the shade if you need to be outside or you have those kids at camp. Early next week, we're going to heat back up once again, so there's no relief. It's just day after day, and that's really, really tough on the body. So we're looking at temperatures in D.C. by next Tuesday into the upper 90s once again, into the triple digits in Charlotte on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday 102. So that heat story will continue. That cold front that I showed you, notice with that rain along the front. We're going to see showers and storms. We've already seen them all morning long, and that's only going to ignite further as we head throughout the afternoon hours with that daytime heating, hot and humid to the south, a little cooler to the north. We're looking at dry lightning, too, in portions of the west. There's that cold front, easy to see on radar. You see all those clouds. You see those bright colors. That's where the heavy rain is falling, and you're looking at that lightning. So it's even starting early this morning. That's an indication of what we will see later on today. And we could see some flooding rains because, remember, everything is so humid. The atmosphere is just saturated. 35 million people at risk for severe weather. We could see winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Could see some hail. Notice that last one. Low tornado risk, but not zero. So we always need to watch out for the chance of an isolated tornado. And notice a yellow shading. That's Boston, Hartford, Philadelphia, New York City, these major airport hubs. So if you're heading out today, or maybe you're traveling along these areas, headed out for the weekend, you want to call ahead to your airport to see if your plane is on time, because you know how that slows down once the storms do start. There's our cold front. The heat also fueling the strong storms across the Northeast. We could see some cooler air, too, around the Great Lakes with that cold front moving through. So back behind it, that wind change is going to bring in that nice Canadian air. Then tomorrow, showers snaking into parts of the Northeast. We'll see new storms forming in the Midwest and also the Mid-Atlantic. So this trend of stormy weekends does continue, and we're looking at a whole lot of rain in some spots. We talked about that cold front where we're going to see those heavy rainfall, and you can see where those brighter colors are to the legend up top, 1, 2, even 3 inches of rain. And notice along the Gulf Coast, we are looking at the chance for some showers too, because that's tropical moisture all due to this system that probably will not develop. It only has a 10% chance, but still will bring some heavy rain along the Gulf Coast.
Okay, that sounds like a little bit of good news.
Yes.
The 10% chance
Your
of development.
hair looks amazing today, too. Can I say that?
Stop. Thank you.
I'm gonna say that.
Gina. Shout out our girl, Gina.
Adorable. That's all.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'll see you in a little bit. You can come back.
I will.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.